I departed with Abu Bakr to meet the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, and the Prophet said, "O Abu Bakr, there is idolatry among you more hidden than the crawling of an ant." Abu Bakr said, "Is there idolatry other than to make a god alongside Allah?" The Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, said, "By the one in whose hand is my soul, there is. Idolatry is more hidden than the crawling of an ant." What if the dreams of one man could redefine our understanding of faith and idolatry? As Muslims, we steadfastly uphold the principle of monotheism, believing in avoiding shirk and dedicating our worship exclusively to the one true God. Yet Muhammad Qasim, a man from Pakistan, claims to have had the extraordinary experience of directly speaking with Allah in his dreams more than 800 times, and speaking with the Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, over 400 times for over 3 decades. He has seen in his dreams that we have failed as Muslims to eradicate shirk or idolatry in all its forms, specifically by not removing all images. As controversial as this sounds, it raises a necessary question. Are images a form of shirk, as Muhammad Qasim has seen in his dreams? Why is it important for us to understand whether images might be considered shirk? Understanding whether images are a form of shirk is crucial for several reasons. It is important for us to be forgiven, as upholding Allah's oneness is the key to receiving divine forgiveness and entering paradise. Did we forget the words of Allah where He stated, "Whoever knows that I have power to forgive sins, I will forgive him, and I will not mine, as long as he does not associate anything with me"? This statement shows the limitless forgiveness available to those who uphold Tawheed, the oneness of Allah. On the other hand, the gravity of idolatry is clearly shown in another narration. Whoever dies while associating anything with Allah will enter hellfire, whereas whoever dies without associating anything with Allah will enter paradise. These teachings give us a simple and clear guide. Muhammad Qasim's dreams challenge us to reconsider our perceptions of idolatry, urging a deeper reflection on our practices and beliefs. Are we inadvertently engaging in forms of shirk unknowingly in our daily lives? What precisely constitutes shirk and its forms? Is Muhammad Qasim's dreams in line with the Book of Allah and the Sunnah? As strange as this may be, while many understand it narrowly as the worship of physical idols, idolatry has a much broader perspective. One such example is highlighted in a narration by the Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, where even swearing by something other than Allah is considered a form of idolatry. This raises the question, are we inadvertently engaging in forms of shirk unknowingly in our daily lives? Shirk, in its broadest sense, is blasphemy. However, in Islamic context, shirk is precisely described as assigning worship, lordship, or the names and attributes that belong solely to Allah to any other. It is categorized in 2 main types: hidden shirk and manifest, outward or open. But what are hidden forms of shirk? Hidden idolatry or hidden shirk is a subtle form of idolatry, where a person's actions or beliefs secretly give reverence or dependence to something or someone other than Allah. Unlike obvious forms of idolatry, like worshipping statues, hidden shirk involves internal beliefs and attitudes that may not be visible to others or even recognized by the person themselves. This can include performing religious acts for human praise or acknowledgement, rather than seeking Allah's approval, known as Riya. Hidden idolatry is dangerous because it undermines the sincerity of one's faith and the exclusive worship of Allah, often without clear outward signs. Hidden shirk has been clearly explained by our beloved Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, in an authentic narration when he said, "Shall I not tell you about my greater fear for you than the false Messiah?" It is hidden idolatry that a man stands for prayer and beautifies his prayer when he sees another man looking at him. Those who fall victim to hidden shirk are like hypocrites, secretly harboring disbelief and engaging in shirk while outwardly presenting themselves as Muslims. This is illustrated in a narration where the Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, said, "When Allah gathers the people on the day of resurrection, an announcement will be made to those who shared with anyone in deeds meant for Allah. Let him seek his reward from those besides Allah. Verily, Allah is free of any partners." In another narration, the Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, said, "Whoever acts to be heard, Allah will make him heard. Whoever acts to show off, Allah will show him off." This highlights the danger of hidden idolatry, performing deeds for human admiration rather than for Allah. The scholars explain that those who seek praise for their righteousness will have their insincerity exposed by Allah on the day of resurrection. This urges us to purify our intentions, ensuring our deeds are solely for Allah's favor and not for worldly acclaim. Outward shirk, or open shirk, is often misunderstood as merely worshipping idols alongside Allah. However, it includes all visible actions that attribute worship, lordship, or the names and attributes exclusive to Allah to anyone or anything other than Allah. This form of shirk is divided into two categories. 1. Major shirk, and 2. Minor shirk. Major shirk involves acts that explicitly associate worship, lordship, names, and attributes with Allah, violating the core Islamic principle of Tawheed or monotheism. It is the most serious sin in Islam, undermining a Muslim's faith. 1. Worshipping other false deities alongside Allah. Major shirk can manifest in words, actions, and beliefs, including worshipping other false deities alongside Allah. This includes praying to, offering sacrifices to, or invoking other false deities, idols, saints, or any entities besides Allah. 2. Attributing divine attributes to others besides Allah. This happens when someone believes other beings share Allah's attributes of lordship, sovereignty, or power to determine fate, such as creating life, giving death, or controlling the universe. Major shirk is considered unforgivable if a person dies without repenting. Many Muslims believe major shirk covers all forms of idolatry, but another form of shirk often goes overlooked. Many Muslims believe major shirk covers all forms of idolatry, but minor shirk often goes overlooked. Minor shirk refers to acts and beliefs that could lead to major shirk or are identified as shirk in Islamic texts, though they don't reach the level of major shirk. It occurs when someone professes Tawheed but has thoughts and actions that don't reflect it. Minor shirk can be categorized into one of two types. 1. Attributing protective or beneficial powers to objects without permission from Allah. This includes placing one's emotional attachment or faith in objects like amulets, the Hamsa hand, turquoise beads, etc., believing these items can protect against harm or the evil eye despite there being no endorsement from Islamic law or the laws established by Allah. One such example is mentioned by our beloved Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, when he stated that incantations, amulets, and love spells are shirk. 2. Excessive veneration of people or things without associating them with lordship. This involves showing undue reverence or honor to someone or something in ways that fall short of deifying them, such as making oaths by entities other than Allah, or uttering phrases like, "Were it not for Allah and so," or "that person or this person is my hope." These minor forms of shirk, while not equating to the worship of others alongside Allah, indicate a deviation from the pure monotheism prescribed in Islam and can subtly erode the foundations of a Muslim's faith, if not corrected. While engaging in major shirk places an individual outside the fold of Islam, resulting in their classification as a disbeliever, thereby severing their connection to the faith. On the other hand, minor shirk does not take an individual outside the fold of Islam. A Muslim may commit acts of minor shirk and still be Muslim. However, treading on dangerous ground as minor shirk constitutes a major sin and potentially lead to major forms of shirk.
إن الله لا يغفر أن يشرك به ويغفر ما دون ذلك لمن يشاء ومن يشرك بالله فقد افترى إثما عظيما.
The question arises, is major shirk the only form of shirk that is unforgivable before Allah? If one dies in that state, or is this also applicable to minor shirk? For Allah has stated, indeed, Allah does not forgive association with Him, but He forgives anything else for whoever He wills. Sheikh Abd al-Rahman al-Barak, may Allah have mercy on him, was asked, is minor shirk worse than major sins? And does this apply in all cases? He replied that the texts indicate that shirk may be major or minor. Sheikh Ibn Uthaymeen, may Allah have mercy on him, was also asked, do the words of Allah. Verily Allah forgives, not that partners should be set up with Him in worship include minor shirk, he replied. The scholars differed concerning that some of them said that it includes all kinds of shirk, even minor shirk, such as swearing by something other than Allah. Allah will not forgive him, but with regard to major sins such as drinking alcohol and zina, they are subject to the will of Allah. If Allah wills, He will forgive them, and if He wills, He will punish them. Furthermore, Shaykh al-Islam Ibn Taymiyyah even said on one occasion, Allah does not forgive shirk, even if it is minor. For Allah Almighty has said in the holy recitation, worship Allah and associate nothing with Him. In addition, the story of Hudayfa, a respected companion of the Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, highlights a significant issue within the Muslim community. Inadvertently adopting practices similar to idolatry. Hudayfa visited a sick man and found him wearing a luck charm, which he removed, citing the verse, most of them do not believe in Allah, but that they associate with Him. This incident illustrates how certain customs seen as harmless converge on shirk. Relying on objects for protection or blessings challenges the core principle of Tawheed, suggesting that even devout Muslims can unknowingly engage in practices akin to idol worship. This emphasizes the need for continuous self-reflection and education on faith principles to avoid such pitfalls.
وما يؤمن أكثرهم بالله إلا وهم مشركون.
With all the given information, is it possible that images fall under the category of minor forms of shirk without us being aware of it? In Muhammad Qasim's dreams, Allah has stated that the world today is filled with more shirk than ever before, with images being a prevailing form. Does this align with our understanding of shirk? Is this contrary to the explicit guidelines found in the Book of Allah and the Sunnah regarding idolatry? Or do Qasim's dreams provide an accurate depiction and a reminder of shirk and what we have overlooked? Qasim was told in his dreams that the world today is filled with shirk more than it has ever before, with images being the prevailing form of shirk today. But does this align with our understanding of shirk? Or do these dreams provide an accurate depiction and a reminder of what we have overlooked? In the 21st century, modern forms of images pervade every corner of the world, from the United Arab Emirates to Qatar, to even the sacred cities of Mecca and Medina. However, considering the prevalence of images in modern society, do they inherently constitute a form of shirk, as indicated by authentic narrations in the Quran and the Hadiths? And what implications does this have for contemporary Muslims striving to uphold their faith amidst these challenges? In the profound teachings of Islam, as conveyed through the narrations, the gravity of creating images is starkly highlighted, underscoring the severe repercussions it entails. The Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, unequivocally stated, "The people who will be most severely punished on the day of resurrection will be the image makers." Furthermore, the Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, stated, "Every maker of graven images will be in hellfire. Every image he made will be given a soul to punish him in hell." Complementing this, another narration provides additional perspective, stating, "Whoever makes an image in this world will be commanded to breathe the soul into it on the day of resurrection, and he will not be able to do so." This narrative underscores the severe repercussions for those who attempt to mimic creation, highlighting their inability to infuse life and the eternal punishment that follows. It paints a vivid and alarming picture of the dire consequences awaiting image makers in an authentic narration, the Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, stated, "Allah Almighty said, 'Who is more unjust than those who try to create something like my creation?' This is further exemplified when the Prophet tore a curtain adorned with images, proclaiming, "The people who will receive the severest punishment on the day of resurrection will be those who try to make the like of Allah's creations." These statements emphasize the severe implications of attempting to mimic Allah's creation, warning us that such acts can edge us into minor shirk. The question arises, why are those who create images subjected to eternal punishment in the hellfire? Does Allah not forgive all sins?
إن الله لا يغفر أن يشرك به ويغفر ما دون ذلك لمن يشاء.
It is abundantly clear that divine forgiveness encompasses all sins, with the singular exception being the association of anything or anyone with a law, whether it be major or minor, if such a person dies in such a state. But how does creating images constitute association with the divine? Attempting to compete with Allah by creating what He alone has created, and indirectly assuming one of His divine attributes, specifically that of the Creator, constitutes a major form of shirk, as this is a direct association with one of Allah's unique names and attributes. In Islam, Allah is recognized as the sole creator of the universe, possessing attributes that are uniquely His. Claiming or attempting to share in these divine names and attributes directly challenges the concept of Tawheed, or the oneness of Allah. By assuming the role or title of the Creator, an individual is placing themselves or others on a level that belongs exclusively to Allah, thereby associating partners with Him in His names and attributes, specifically His creative power. We not only recognize and honor the distinctiveness of Allah's names and attributes and acknowledge the vast difference between the Creator and His creations. The act of trying to compete with Allah by attempting to create what He alone has created, or taking undue pride in attributes that are unique to Allah alone, highlights outward or manifests major forms of shirk. How have Muslims overlooked this clear injustice of attempting to compete with Allah by creating what He has created and taking pride in one of His divine names and attributes, the Prophet Muhammad? Peace and blessings be upon him, taught that equating anything with Allah, especially in creation, is a grave form of shirk leading to hell, while recognizing the unique sovereignty of Allah assures paradise. He condemned images that mimic creation, stating those who compete with Allah's act of creation face severe punishment in the afterlife for rivaling Allah's creative power. Even seemingly innocent acts of image-making can carry profound spiritual implications and illustrates the spiritual consequences of trying to mimic Allah's creation through image-making. This highlights the inherent injustice in attempting to replicate the divine act of creation, aligning with the earlier statement by Allah Almighty regarding the injustice of creating something like His creation. Together, these verses and narrations emphasize that the act of creating images inadvertently crosses into the realm of shirk by attempting to parallel the divine act of creation. Furthermore, it was narrated that the Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, described how Allah created Adam in paradise as a clay statue and allowed him to remain in the state. He created him for a specific duration before bestowing life upon him. This process, where Adam was honored and recognized even before receiving a soul, highlights the unique reverence Allah holds for His creation. Intriguingly, Ibn Kathir clarifies in his commentary that the term statues encompasses both pictures and images.
وَمَن يَتَوَلَّهُم مِّنكُمْ فَإِنَّهُ مِنْهُمْ.
This verse advises Muslims against forming alliances with those who do not share their faith. As such, connections can compromise their beliefs and lead to behaviors inconsistent with Islamic teachings. Supporting someone who commits major shirk is akin to committing shirk, aligning one with blasphemous beliefs. Aligning closely with individuals or groups who oppose Islamic values can blur the lines between belief and disbelief. Such alliances might cause a Muslim to adopt stances or behaviors that are inconsistent with Islamic teachings, aligning more with the values and priorities of those outside their faith than with their own religious community. Supporting someone committing major shirk is enough to be deemed as committing major shirk oneself, as it shows sympathy and alignment with their blasphemous beliefs. It's also crucial to understand that while creating or displaying images like posters or portraits doesn't constitute major shirk, it can be classified as minor shirk. Minor shirk involves the excessive veneration of images, including those of people or objects, without ascribing divinity to them. This act of undue reverence falls under minor shirk, as excessive admiration of a lifeless image constitutes this form of shirk. Displaying images of sentient beings, especially those with faces, touches upon the concept of minor shirk in Islamic thought, particularly when viewed through the lens of the creation story of Adam. Adam was honored and recognized as a statue before receiving a soul, highlighting the unique reverence Allah holds for His creation. This narrative explains why creating or honoring images or statues is viewed critically in Islam. It can constitute minor shirk by showing undue reverence to something in ways that fall short of deifying it. Following practices of idolaters, like honoring images, can blur the lines between belief and disbelief, and unintentionally establish objects of worship rivaling Allah's remembrance. The Quran emphasizes that all honor belongs to Allah alone. To Allah alone belongs all praise and honor forever. Thus, creating or venerating images can lead to minor shirk by diverting honor from Allah.
من كان يريد العزة فلله العزة جميعا.
This narrative offers insight into why the creation of images or statues is viewed critically in Islam. It essentially attempts to replicate the divine act of creation that belongs solely to Allah. When humans create images or statues, especially with the intention of them being honored or worshipped, it parallels the act of giving form to Adam, albeit without the divine command or sanctity. This act of creating representations, particularly with the expectation of reverence, mirrors a form of imitation of Allah's creative power, thus constituting a major form of shirk, by attributing to humans the divine names and attributes the Creator. Not without cause did Abu Huraira report that the Messenger of Allah, peace and blessings be upon him, said, "A neck will emerge from the hellfire on the day of resurrection with 2 eyes to see, 2 ears to hear, and a tongue to speak. It will say, 'Verily I am in charge of 3 persons, every stubborn tyrant, everyone who called upon another God alongside Allah, and every maker of images.'"